Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is fun. I mean, absolutely fun. Because we're going to talk to a young lady who, and when I say young, she's young. And it's her journey on what she just did is literally blowing up the social media platforms. Um, I'm not going to tell her story because I'm going to let her tell it. But welcome to the show, Emily Koons from the new Trick Your Van company, Ozzy Vans. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thanks so much, Andre. Thanks for having me.
So let's get right down to it. We talked a little bit in the pre warm up, and I mean your story is just totally crazy. Nobody would probably believe it unless they followed you, and they still wouldn't believe it. 27 years old. Take the viewers down a little bit of who Emily is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name's Emily. I live in Westford, Vermont. I'm originally from Michigan, and I built out a van with my dad a couple of years ago, and loved the process so much that I decided to turn it into a business.
So when you decided to build this van, what was your life like? Let's talk about your life first. You know, Go Blue, Michigan all the way. How did you get from Michigan all the way to Vermont? Give us a little bit of that journey before we get into the actual conversion process of your life.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Michigan. I always had an itch to travel, and that's how I ended up in Colorado. I had visited my best friend there, who was working at a summer camp, and just fell in love with the mountains and the lifestyle and the adventurous lifestyle, which, sneak peek there. That's not surprising, turning into what I'm doing now. But out there, I worked for an organization that worked with adults with autism, and it was an outdoor adventure program. So we would take adults with moderate to severe behaviors and work with them on developing appropriate behavioral skills and just like adding to their behaviors or their repertoire of behaviors by facilitating outdoor activities. So whitewater rafting and skiing and horseback riding and rock climbing, all the good stuff that Colorado has to offer. From there, I essentially just decided to kind of hop on any adventure that I could. And one of them was building out a van. Living in a van first and then building one out. Definitely had a very huge desire to travel and to see a lot of different places. I don't know if you've ever been to, but it's not as exciting as some of the other places in the U.S. tend to be.
You said you started out like in a van. Was it uncomfortable for you in the van? And what was uncomfortable? If you're on a road trip, you got to be like almost in an Escalade type living condition. So, what was uncomfortable about that van? Because for you to go this way, you had to have been driving down the road, numerous road trips, and you was probably like, okay, enough of this shit. What was that like?
Yeah, I think the first van that I lived in, it just had a certain charm that was not my own, that I didn't love. It had similar plywood to what you see behind me here. It was like rough sheeting. It had lime green LED lights, and it felt like I was walking into like a 17-year-old boy's like smelly dorm room. But I loved the experience of like what it brought me. And I thought, what if I could just turn the inside of this space into something that feels more like a really cozy home? And I did. I think that van that I lived in really fueled my desire to make something a little bit more beautiful and more curated toward like an experience for people who feel like they need to be in like a cozy cabin feel.
So what age were you and when did this actually transfer into you developing your van into becoming a mobile housing unit? You're only 20. This just happened within the last 2 years. People need to understand that. You're 27 years old. How do you even have the mind concept to all of a sudden just say, you know what, I'm going to do this? And who was inspirational to help you do this?
My dad, definitely. My dad was definitely inspirational in this process. He has been a self-taught craftsman for most of his adult life. When I was 10, he built me a tugboat that was like electric and could go 3 miles per hour, and I would like ride around in it. And so lots of like boats from scratch and restored plastic wooden boats. And we had a boat actually that you could like, there was like a bed on it, so you could stay on it. And so we would like pack up on the weekends and go to this boat and stay there in Grand Haven, Michigan. And I think that probably started my like attraction to minimalistic living, because you really, it's not like going to stay in an Airbnb or, you know, in like a hotel. There's so many, they're different. You have to pack all your food, you have to make sure you have enough water, you have to make sure you have enough gas. There's only a few things, if you don't want to bring too much weight on board, all the stuff. And it made the experiences that you have so much better, because you're not worried about like the amenities or the things that you're dealing with. You're just excited about the experiences that you're going to have. Yeah, I think that my dad was pretty inspirational. The first time I was exposed to van life was actually on the main street in Grand Haven, Michigan. I saw a schoolie drive down the street, and somebody had painted it like sea blue. And inside you could see they had this like white cabinetry, and it was outfitted to be a house. And I remember sitting there on the side of this road, like jaw dropped, and became like, I want to do that, whatever that is. I have no idea what. It's so cool. And they had an Instagram handle like on the back of the bus, and I like looked it up, and it was actually Fern the Bus, if anybody follows them. They are so cool. It's like a couple from Michigan who like takes the summers off and travels because they're teachers and they travel in their bus. But that's how I got introduced to it. And I think that the combination of having my dad, who was able to teach himself a lot of his own skills, and then this idea of minimalistic living and knowing that these things existed.
When did you share it with your dad, and what was his reaction?
He actually advised me to go to a professional. He said, you know, I just do both. Maybe you should hire somebody who knows how to do this for real. And I said, well, like part of the reason I want to do this is to do it with you and not just like hire somebody random to do it. Like I want the experience of like learning how to build and having the experience of doing it with you. And from that point on, he was just like stoked. It was, my mom said it was all we could talk about for months. So that was really fun for us.
So when he gave you the tools and the equipment to do this project, and you now seeing it actually starting to getting ready to happen, did you have second thoughts? Did you dive right into it? Were there moments that you were thinking about this may be a little bit too hard?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of those moments. I think that with anything new, when you're trying to make a new project, there's always going to be something that comes up that maybe you're not sure if you're equipped to handle, especially if you don't have a background in that area. The first of which actually, which is a funny story because it's actually how it fuels my desire to learn about like how to wire electrical systems and how to do plumbing. But essentially when I built the van, the first van with my dad, he did all of the electrical and all of the plumbing, and he handed me the tools to do a lot of the like, carpentry work. So when I lived in the van, I had no idea about anything that happened with my electrical system and my plumbing system at all. I was like clueless in this thing. And on the first drive back to Colorado from Michigan, where we built out the van, by the time we hit Denver, the van had caught on fire. And it was the fridge, actually, that had caught on fire. It was wired incorrectly, and when I was driving, it started to smoke, and it filled up the entire van with smoke. And at that point, I said, you know, like, oh shit, like, I don't think that this is for me. I am in way over my head. This is something that's like way over me. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. How do I fix it? Like, how do I sleep at night knowing that this is even a possibility, that something like this could happen? The fire department had to come and everything. And so I, you know, took the van back to my dad and I said, this didn't work. Can you fix it? Like, do something. And he said, yep, I'll fix it. And he put a fuse in one of the lines, and lo and behold, a few days later, the same thing happened again.
Wow, twice?
twice, and love my dad. I think he's a very competent individual. He's also very confident, which is great in some cases, and maybe not so much in this one. But I just took it upon myself that I was like, well, I cannot sleep in this van at night until I understand what is happening with these processes.
So who took the bulls by the horn? Did your dad say your dad's one way of thinking made you think totally different? So now you got to add something else to your plate outside, besides the fact of tricking your van out internally. But now you got a serious issue. You bought this van. This is your money that keeps catching on fire. So now what you have to do now, you have to start studying electrical wiring, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that one I took to a van converter in Colorado, and I said, I need to fix this. I need to know that it's working, and I need to understand it. And he did, and it worked fine from that point on. And when I started to learn about the processes, what I did is I literally ordered 2 textbooks, electrical textbooks from Amazon, and I read them. And then I watched hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos on electrical systems and wiring and DC wiring and 12 volt versus 120 volt. And solar electrical systems, and now I understand, which is fantastic.
Well, Emily, when you took it there and he fixed it, did he tell you how to prevent this in the future? Because now you're really investing into this before we let the secret out as we keep talking. But did you even ask him hey man, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, I said, did you figure out the problem? And you know what it is? And he said, yep, I think the wire burned up. It must be that there was too much electricity running through it, and you have to put a fuse in line. And in my head, because I didn't have, the background information there, I was like, okay, that makes sense from my preliminary knowledge about this topic. So I trust you, I'm going to move forward with this. I trust you know what you're talking about. And I think that has been one of the biggest lessons in building a business and then providing services for other people, is to not do things to an extent where you are pretty sure you can't get it wrong, right? But you're confident you're only getting it right.
And I guess the other part would be not to be afraid to really go out and ask somebody that knows what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I've consulted plenty of professionals in my history in the last few years. It's been YouTube, it's been textbooks, it's been professionals, it's been seminars, it's been everything and anything in between. And I think that is part of learning a skill,
right?
And being able to provide it to other people too. If it's just me, right? I'm okay with taking the risks of my inability to conquer a task, or to maybe not master something, or not have all the knowledge. But if it's somebody else's health and safety, right, I want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence to protect them by knowing everything that I possibly can about a certain topic.
So after you got the wiring fixed, you get back to your dad's. Do you think this is too much for you?
Then?
Or do you just get back to, how do you keep going now? You don't have 2 fires. I'm getting ready to ask, did you need a new paint job? But now you're going, you're still on this, I'm gonna call it what it is, the Green Acre tour. You're leaving Michigan and you're going here, you're going there, and you're still, you probably wasn't even 27 like you are now. So you're still rolling, but you're on a mission. But now you got a setback with the fire. You got more stuff to learn. How do you keep that beast mindset going?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get caught up in those moments and be like, this is too much, it's too far, it's too much for me. And then I think about all the other examples I've had of people finding success in things. Mm-hmm. And I think about, well, what separates that person from me, other than this set of knowledge or this set of skills, which can be acquired by anyone, right? I truly believe that I'm capable of acquiring skills and knowledge if I can put in the time and dedication to doing that. So if this is just a barrier of knowledge or skill, then that is something that I can work with. If it's a barrier of something greater, if I can't just come up with the money to fix something, or come up with the physical strength to do something, right? That's the difference. But to me, this was if other people are doing it, then why can't I? Like if somebody knows how to do this, then I can eventually know.
Emily, who was the motivating factors in your life? You speak with this sheer passion and pure determination, this never ending drive. Who was the influences in your life that this came from besides your dad? Were there other factors in your household, and who were they?
Yeah, my mom was a huge impact on my sense of drive and I think work ethic. Um, Essentially, she grew up with her sister and her mom in a one-bedroom trailer home, and she worked herself through college and out of that situation, and now works as a project manager for a big firm in Michigan, and has a master's degree, and was able to kind of financially support the rest of her family in doing that. So started from nothing and decided that she was going to work hard and make something like who she was going to be. And I think that that's been highly reflected in my childhood and my adult life, knowing that she is like, she grinds. She's definitely grinds. She's up at like 4:30 every morning, goes to bed at like 10 o'clock. And she is the most productive human that I think I've ever met. But yeah, I think that knowing that she could start from like where she did and get to where she ended up just by putting in the hard work has really influenced me because she was able to provide me a better childhood than I think that she was given.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that I'd even started there, that I had, I could go miles from there because I started where I did.
Okay, let's finish up the journey to the road to conversion vans. So now you're driving, you got everything, you're studying. How long does it take to finish this project?
The first one, I built that myself.
Yeah.
That one took much longer than I expected. And I think that it took in total about 10 months. And to give you some context, realistically, a van conversion, if you're working on it without any interruption, if you have all the finances, if you're able to get all the materials, work on it full time, you should be able to get it done in like 3 months. And I was trying to take other projects. I was trying to get clients. I was doing all the things small business owners do, and you are wearing a million different hats at one time. I couldn't finance the whole thing on my own, so I was doing a little bit by bit. And yeah, it took me about 10 months to do the first one.
How much did it wind up costing you for that first project?
That's a good question. My accounting, was not as intact as it is now. So I don't know if I could give you an exact number, especially because it was the first go around. But I would say the total materials in that one cost probably around 22 to 25,000.
But some people would look at this show and be like, why didn't you just get an apartment or live with your parents? I mean, help the viewers understand what was the end game with doing this? What was the end game for you building this home to travel, to live in, to be your spot? Give the viewers a little bit of why you did this.
Yeah, I feel like it was the experience. Like I said, I feel like I have always been really attracted to adventure and new experiences and trying new things. And this was kind of a realm that I knew would challenge me, but also provide me with new experiences. I hadn't ever lived on my own without roommates before, and that was an affordable way to do that because I was really just paying off a car payment, and then at the end of the time I was going to live in it, I was going to sell the whole thing anyways. So I put most of the expenses on a 0% credit card, and then was able to pay off the credit card when I sold the van at the end of it. So I didn't really take on any additional expenditures at the time. I just basically put it all out there and then lived in it and then sold it before I needed to pay anything back.
What did your friends think of what you were doing? Did they look at you and be like, okay, you spending all this money, putting stuff on credit cards? Hey, they got a nice penthouse right there. Why don't you just go stay there? I mean, how was the public viewing you in social media? I mean, how was they looking at this whole venture that you was doing?
Sure, yeah. I actually didn't post a ton about my first conversion. I wasn't actually all that active on social media. I'm definitely way more active now as a business owner than I ever was. But my immediate circle was all very excited for me. I was really lucky to have a good group. I think some people thought I was a little out there for wanting something like this. But for the most part, people were just really excited about it. I think it's kind of absurd, you know? It's like an absurd concept that you put a house in a car and it has like, it's solar powered, it has plumbing, it has hot water, it can have a shower, it can have a bed, it can have more than that. And people love absurdity, I guess. It's like, a lot of people don't want it, but a lot of people love to see it. And I think that I really experienced a lot of people coming together to support that just because it was such a cool, novel thing.
What did you learn from this? You know, now you're 27 years old. You completed not one, the viewers need to understand this. You completed several other projects of the same magnitude after that. You started the business from this from this journey. What did you learn from that from this?
A lot.
Let me rephrase it, Emily. Let me rephrase it. What are three things that you learned from this that you will always carry on to your family?
I think first and foremost that through this process I learned how to develop a positive relationship with failure. I think that you can encounter so many obstacles in life, whether you start a business or not, right? Like whether or not you're trying new things, you're being stretched in the stretch zone. Growth happens when you are like doing things you are not qualified to do. And I think that I learned how to see my mistakes or things that I could improve on, not as a fault, but as an area for improvement. I tell people that the first 6 months in business for me was like getting punched in the face over and over again. And then eventually you learn how to like dodge a few and then even throw some back. And I think it's just like this persistence. And then understanding that if you mess up or if you do something quote unquote incorrectly, or if you do something that maybe you wish you would have done differently, that's all learning. It's all learning. It's like taking a class, and instead of paying money for a textbook, you're paying money to make a mistake.
So tell me about the business side that you created real quick.
Yeah. So I curate boho minimalistic designed vans for people. I essentially turn cargo vans into living apartments on wheels. They are completely off-grid, so they're solar powered, and they have water storage, oftentimes water heaters as well. Most of my clients opt to include like full showers, convertible beds, or queen-size beds, and really what I'm doing is putting a bunch of things into a van to make it look more like an apartment than a van.
Is there have you noticed a major demand for your product based on the world trying to switch over to totally electric? What are some of the things that you are encountering with this business and with building vans that you are now looking at going, wow, this has really changed the world?
Yeah, I think that housing is a problem for a lot of people, and a lot of people are trying to find more affordable ways to live in housing, or to have affordable housing. So I think that as much as that problem cannot be fixed by putting people in vans, a lot of people opt to purchase a van instead of a home in a lot of cases, and it's like save up to buy a home in the long run. So I think that the housing crisis has actually made the van industry quite successful. But where COVID, I think, really helped as well in terms of like the world changed and went remote. And now here we are living in vans and working on our computers. So I think that both of those are probably huge factors in the success of the van industry and my business in particular.
How can the viewers reach you for questions about designing new pre-existing band or just a consultation with you, how can the viewers reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and then I also have a website. So it's www.ozzybands.com. And I have a contact form there and a bunch of different ways to get a quote on a custom project, on a pre-existing layout. I'm consulting if anybody's interested in consulting. I just launched that this past month. But yeah, that's how you can reach me.
I'm gonna be reaching out to you to design the Andre the Beast mobile van too.
No, I think it's about soundproofing, so it might be a gal.
Yeah. So we ain't got to worry about that. That should be an easy job. I just want to make sure that it doesn't catch on fire.
I can make sure that happens to you. It doesn't happen.
Emily, before we wrap up, you definitely have that beast state of mind. I love it. You're 27 years old. Keep playing that to the next generation. Leave the viewers with something that only you can leave them with.
Don't let anybody tell you you're not capable of doing something that they are, because they started from nothing. And any celebrity, anybody who's made it in the world started with zero skill. And so if you feel like there's something you've wanted to try, all it takes is a little bit of dedication and persistence. And for your stars to align maybe a little bit also. But don't believe it. And don't believe anyone if they tell you that you can't do what they're doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.